loosened the pump and got out of the way, that kids are ferociously self-educating organisms. And if you give them feedback at key junctures, they go way beyond the generation they grew out of. It's almost like a formula for success that has too much evidence to be believed, especially when people start saying, well, do you want your child to be destitute, unemployable, da-da-da-da. The funny thing is the greatest way, if money is what you're after, the greatest way to get a whole lot of it in the United States is through sales. And virtually every CEO of a large public corporation came up through the sales route, not through any other route. Well, the kind of fluency in speaking and writing and the kind of easy behavior with all kinds of people that grease the skids successfully for sales are exactly not what is taught in schooling anyway. The idea is sit down, shut up, right? Oh, now you have 7 minutes to speak. Don't get out of your seat.
The thing is that this is perpetuated in the way corporations hire, too, in their, quote, human resource departments. Because,
well, it is on the lowest levels, but I can tell you one of my hobbies is figuring out how they hire executives, and I have, about a 50-pound file on that, and I can guarantee you the number one characteristic is not how you did in your last job. It's whether you will fit into the executive organization and give up your weekends to go skeet shooting, and
right. And I more meant in the other echelons of an organization, there's a lot of criteria. Not only what you did before, what your experience is, what your expertise is, but it used to be years ago. I can't say what it is now. I've had my own company for years, but what your educational background is. The thing that's so sad now, John, is that the colleges are so expensive that kids think that they won't have a life if they're not $100,000 in debt after they're done with a college degree.
Well, and of course, they'll tow that anchor right through their 40s. I mean, it is hideous. I just heard on the radio before we spoke that college debt has been securitized, so it's turned into tradable commodities because the government stands behind a big chunk of those loans.
It's another derivatives market then.
Yeah, exactly. And we have had, for at least the last 40 years, we have had an invisible network of very good colleges all over the country, indeed all over the world, that will in fact, California is a leader in this, will give you their degree. It will not be marked through computer, or it used to be by correspondence. It'll be the same degree. The cost is about a third of the cost of sitting down, and you're able to finish the entire degree in about 18 months in California, in less time than that elsewhere. We're talking about some of the greatest schools in the world, like McGill in Canada. You can get PhDs, masters. You can get special training that enables you to apply for certain kinds of work, or you can get a bachelor's degree from excellent universities at your own speed. My daughter graduated from MIT, and she wanted to teach for 1 year in New York City, and they wanted her to have, I think 26 education credits. And she said, well, I refuse to do that and to spend that money and the time. And I said, you don't have to. I said, you can take all 26 credits in one semester at Penn State or 100 other colleges for about a fifth of the cost that a New York City college would charge you. And when she was done, when she had done that, she said to me, I learned more from those courses which shift the burden of learning heavily onto the student than I learned in 4 years at MIT. Now, that was great to know since I was looking at, $250,000 in debt, but...
I loved your letter to your granddaughter.
Oh, yes.
And was profoundly impacted by that.
She ended up going to Hampshire College up in Amherst, Massachusetts. They're part of a loose consortium with Amherst, Smith, Holyoke, those fine women's schools. You can take courses in any one of the 5 colleges, but you write your own curriculum, and then you convince faculty members to give it to you. That's if you do it at Hampshire, at Amherst, and the other schools. They're fixed courses you take.
How interesting. How very, very interesting. Apparently, Robert Kiyosaki loves you. He says, John Taylor Gatto has been a hero of mine for years. He has the courage to challenge an educational system that is obsolete and out of touch with reality. Years ago, he gave me the courage to speak out and write my books. I trust this book will give you the courage to speak out. And so many others.
God bless him. One of his close relatives was the head of the Hawaii school system. In his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that was the poor dad.
Very interesting. I want to talk a little bit about Marilee Jones.
I love her.
I want you to share her plight, what happened to her, what she did, and the relevance.
Well, I picked up, this was about 2 years ago, I read the financial press, not because I'm an investor, but because you're likelier to get some corner on the truth there than anywhere else. So I'm reading the Wall Street Journal, and there's this big article that the admissions head at MIT had been fired, and they devoted a whole page and a half to it. They interviewed MIT students, faculty. They said that she was a treasure, impossible to replace. Nevertheless, she was fired. The New York Times covered it on the front page, and all over the country, Marilee, for about, 3 days, was huge news. She had changed MIT's admissions policy to favor women. That's probably why my daughter got in. And she created a 50-50 balance, male-female, close to that, at MIT. Somehow, after 28 years, somebody snooping around discovered she did not have the college degrees she claimed when she applied for the job. She didn't have any of them. And the cherry on top of this Sunday, Kim, I hope you appreciate it.
I do. That's why I'm bringing it up.
She wasn't a schemer. What she had been was a country western singer in upstate New York bars and clubs. Now, why someone would want to leave a lovely job like that to be admissions director at MIT, I have no idea. But the fact is that she was famous all over the country, beloved at MIT, but the president, nervous, I guess, because there are 20 presidents waiting in the wings for everyone who has a job, he said, we will see to it in the future this will never happen again. And I remember thinking, what will never happen again? That you'll get this priceless admissions lady who reformed your system? And, well, that's Marilee Jones. If anyone knows her, please send me her address, because I want to send her, a box of chocolates or something.
Well, I think it's a critical topic to talk about her, because the criteria for getting that type of a job or a position must have been so narrowly defined that she didn't want to say what her background fully was as a singer, and that being a singer wouldn't be able to cross-pollinate her gifts